Counting in tenths and hundredths using a number line, here we have a line that goes from 0 to 1, and you can see that we have equal divisions, each one representing a tenth. Between each of those tenths, there are smaller divisions. Each tenth has been divided into another 10, and each of those divisions is 1/100th. The first hundredth after 0 is 1/100th. Halfway between 0 and a tenth, we have 5/100ths. Then 1/100th just before the tenth, we have 9/100ths. And those hundredths go all the way up to just before we get to the 1 at the end, and that last hundredth will be 99/100ths. So there are 100 hundredths in that whole one. If we just focus on the very first bit of that number line, from the 0 to the tenth, so we're going to enlarge that below. So we have a line now from 0 to 1/10, and each of those divisions is 100th. So from 1/100th across, and halfway between 0 and a tenth, we have 5/100ths. And we keep going until 9/100ths. When we get to the tenths, we have 10/100ths, which is the same as a tenth. So going back to this line here, if you were asked to find 42/100ths on a number line where you can see the tenths, the hundredths are there, they're between each tenth, but they haven't been marked. The best way to find these is to use what we learned previously. Remember, 42/100ths is 4/10ths and 2/100ths. So to find 42/100ths on the line, we find 4/10ths. Remember, that's the same as 40/100ths. And then we move along 2/100ths. 1, 2. And there we have 42/100ths. Here are two for you to try. Find 66/100ths and 91/100ths. Pause the video, have a go. First one, 66/100ths. Remember how many tenths and hundredths there are. There are 6/10ths and 6/100ths. So to find 66/100ths on the line, we can find 6/10ths and then move along 6/100ths. So 66/100ths is there. Now we're going to find 91/100. Remember that that is 9/10ths and 1/100th. We find the 9/10ths, which is 90/100ths, and move along 1/100th, and there you have 91/100ths. We can do the same thing for finding mixed numbers. Here we need to find 3 and 54/100ths. If we partition that number, we have 3 whole ones, 5/10ths and 4/100ths. We can see that the number line goes from 3 to 4. We find 3 and 5/10ths, which is the same as 3 and 50/100ths. And then we move along 4/100ths. And there we have 3 and 54/100ths. Here's one for you to try. Find 11 and 28/100ths. Pause the video, have a go. We break that down, we have 11 and 2/10ths and 8/100ths. The number line goes from 11 to 12. We find 11 and 2/10ths, which is 11 and 20/100ths, and then move along another 8/100ths. And there you have 11 and 28/100ths.